Welcome to the NXT Podcast, your home for weekly NXT reviews and insight.
The beautiful part of NXT is that when one dream ends, another dream begins.
Find all of your NXT news, recaps, and analysis right here. So with that being said, we only have one question for you.
Are you ready?
We thought so. Let's get the show started right now.
All right, everyone. This is Memphis Mark coming to you from Mullet Manor on September 27th with an NXT review, folks. And we're going to jump right into it because this was a pretty interesting start to the show. They come out with a Dragunov, pretty much letting everybody know that he's here to slay a dragon and or a beast, and he'd done it with Gunter, and he'll do it with Braun. So he's announcing his intentions when JD has to come out and jump in, and lets everybody know, even though Dragunov says Pain is his best friend, that JD took him to the limit, and in their prior match that he beat him up so bad that he could not defend the belt that he won. So who really won that match? Pretty interesting. But the crowd is really in an uproar now because we've got Braun Breaker coming out. And Braun Breaker is the champ. And he has the belt, and he is showing it proudly, and he's letting everybody know that you got to go through him. But then Braun does the unthinkable. All right, in the wrestling promo world, he brings up, and only he can do it because it's family, but he brings up the immortal Scott Steiner, Big Papa Pump, in a reference he makes when he says he's got a 33 1/3 chance to win. Okay, now what does that mean? Okay, and if you've never heard Big Papa Pump's interview, you wouldn't know. So there's no way I can go on without bringing you up to date. If you haven't heard this, you're about to. And I haven't done any audio on any of my shows, so I don't know how this is going to sound, but I cannot explain it to you in depth at all unless you hear the actual promo. So here we go. We're going to try this out now. Let's see if I can get everybody in the editing room to do their freaking jobs, and here we go.
You know, they say all men are created equal, but you look at me and you look at Small Joe, and you can see that statement is not true. See, normally if you go one-on-one with another wrestler, you got a 50-50 chance of winning. But I'm a genetic freak, and I'm not normal. So you got a 25% at best at beating me. And then you add Kurt Angle to the mix, your chances of winning drastically go down. See, the three-way at sacrifice, you got a 33 1/3 chance of winning. But I got a 66 2/3 chance of winning because Kurt Angle knows he can't beat me and he's not even going to try. So, Small Joe, you take your 33 1/3 chance minus my 25% chance, and you got an 8 1/3 chance of winning at sacrifice. But then you take my 75% chance of winning. If we used to go one-on-one and they add 66 2/3%, I got 141 2/3 chance of winning at sacrifice. See, Joe, the numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for you at sacrifice.
All right, and how do you follow that? But Braun does. He brings it up, and there you go. There you have the history of 33 1/3. All right, they go straight into Briggs and Jensen and Gallus going at it. They're fighting. They're already starting to fight, and their main event's not even close. So after that, we've got Toxic Attraction with Mandy as the mouthpiece. And she is talking about Alba Fire, of course. So that's leading into a match upcoming. But you've got Gacy and Schism. Schism. And of course, they're talking about Cameron. And it didn't have to be this way. So, you know, Gacy is going to settle the score in the upcoming match a little later. All right, well, from there, they actually go into Valen Henry and Toxic with traction with Mandy in the ring. And Mandy, this match is what it is. It's a little showboat match for Mandy. Valen is not ready to be on that level yet, but they give her a couple good little shots in there and make her look pretty good. But Mandy does win this match, which she does a little quick promo, a little winded after the match, and she calls out Alba Fire, and well, Alba lives by her name, and she sets something on fire and says she's ready. So we go from that. We go to the author, the poet that didn't know it, Apollo Creed, out by the lake, writing again in his journal. And he's kind of going back over his match with Grayson Waller and letting it know that he cost him the chance at the North American title. So and then a quick little interview with Zion Quinn and Dragunov, and they have some words. So that's going to set up a match. But from there we go to Wesley and Tony D for a qualifying match. And this match starts off, you got Stacks out there with Tony D, and Wes didn't have to take this match, but he said he wanted to prove himself, and he didn't want a free pass into the tournament, so he's going to take on Tony D. And Tony D and Stacks, it's a good match. They come out, everything's good. Stacks gets involved, actually he does put his hands on Wesley at one time, which in the old days that would have been a disqualification, but the referee did not want the match to end that way. So it continues on for a few more minutes, and then Wesley does a little trip where he's going to do a little, like a leg sweep or trip, and Tony D's head should go into like the second turnbuckle. But then there's another twist. That's because Tony D apparently hurt himself, and they have to stop the match. And we'll have to check on Wednesday to see how this actually turned out, but it looks like Tony D hurt his knee or his ankle. Wes did really good with the reactions afterwards. They quickly go to a Mellow Trick interview, and Oro's in there, and they're Wes, so we get a little of everything there. So they're trying to show that they're still involved in this tournament. And we go straight into a promo after that of the new Surfer Girl, Solo Ruka, maybe Sol Ruka, or I don't know, but she's a athlete from Oregon. They got a few collegiate athletes in NXT right now. So they do a little promo of her on the beach doing cartwheels. All right. But then they go into a good little promo with Pretty Deadly. Now, Pretty Deadly is, they're describing their day, that most people get up and they start off their day at 8 or whatever in the morning, that they don't get out of bed till 10. And then it's all about wardrobe and hair. And look, this whole thing is pretty cool. Look, back in my day, we had Gorgeous George and his valet, and it was a whole ordeal of the wardrobe and everything. But when you messed up Gorgeous George's hair, it was on. Fists were thrown. You're about to get these hands, So that's what Pretty Deadly is kind of, going off of. But they go into Amani Miller and Miss Ruka, the Surfer Girl. They have a match, and it's a pretty good match. I can't say anything bad about it. But a lot of cartwheels, a lot of flying, and their timing's not quite there. So it is what it is. But, the new Surfer Girl does win, and we go straight into a Grimes Joe Gacy match. And this match is good. These guys put on a great match. Grimes comes in, of course, with all the fanfare, and Gacy and Schism is ready to partake in this. During the match, Schism gets involved without getting involved. Several times they keep Grimes from continuing on, like the Usos or somebody, the groups they've got now doing. But it is a good match. At one point in time, they stop Grimes from coming out. Grimes comes from between them, pulls Cameron under the ropes, and does a good ass-whooping kind of period of time. He's throwing hands. He's really tearing it up. And the match is good. I have no problems with it. I keep thinking that, it's leading up for Cameron. It's leading up for Cameron. But then it doesn't. And Gacy ends up winning this match. And Grimes, again, is on the outside looking in, at another loss. And Gacy stands with his hand in the air, which leads to Grayson Waller promo, and Grayson's good on the mic. He's good on the stick. He does good. He's really ticked off at Apollo, and you know what that's leading at Halloween Havoc, a match for redemption. All right, after that, you're going to have Caden Carter, part of the champs, going against Nikki Lyons, and Toni Storm's going to be there with her, and this is a good match. And man, Nikki has really gotten herself over with her little boxing Power Ranger entrance. She's caught the fancy of the fans, and it showed in this match. Miss Carter is one of the champs. She's great. This match is good, but it's foregone that Nikki wins this match, and does it in style with the splits over Miss Carter. But the crowd was really on her side. So let's see where that takes us in the future. But now, we've got Chase U. Chase U University. And this promo is freaking great. Mr. Chase starts it off with referring to the fact that he has now got a spot in the North American Championship against Von Wagner, and that he will beat Von Wagner, which we'll have to see on that one. But they do the promo, and they do his little press conference, and then he opens it up to the crowd. Yeah, he does. He opens it up to the reporters. And there's Mr. Dave. Mr. Dave. He does not ask a 5-star question. And which leads to, they're going to go back, and when wrestlers get older, there's always a period of time where they do a review of their career, and they show little tidbits or little highlights of their career. This may be one of Mr. Chase's highlights of his career, because he turns to Dave, the reporter, and tells him he's an ignorant. I don't have the effects to. Anyway, you kind of know the gist of what happens. Chase lets the guy know that was not a 5-star question, and it will lead to, of course, a teachable moment. But yeah, then they go back out, and they've got Nathan Frazier running around out on a soccer field, showing him probably in his latter years of his college or something like that. But he's showing he's an everyday man. He's out there playing football in America, or in Europe, but in America we call it soccer. But he was apparently a soccer star. Even ends the promo with a bicycle kick into the net. I wonder how many takes it took to get that. But good little promo, and either of course it's him and Axum in the best of 3 series, and it's all tied up. So we are awaiting this coming Friday, the end of the trilogy, and we will see where that goes. But we've got Zion Quinn and Dragunov coming to the ring now, and Dragunov looks great in his Rick Rude type of rope, and he's got the crowd in the palm of his hands. But man, I'm going to tell you, this Zion Quinn, he's got the look, he's got the moves, he's pretty good on the mic. Man, it won't be long, he will be in a ring in WWE on a Monday or a Friday. This is a good match. Dragunov is going to win this match, but everything about it was good. Dragunov, of course, is good, and Zion keeps getting better and better from his coming back from an injury. And they go into a DK, Wendy Chu, Lash kind of a promo, or DK's, ready for Brutus. And Wendy Chu is talking about, Lash putting that boot upside her head. And Lash is, of course, talking about putting that boot upside her head. So it's a good little promo, good little lead way in, but it's leading into Brutus of the Creed Brothers versus Mr. Kemp. Now, these two guys have been setting this up, and when Kemp comes into the arena, as soon as Brutus sees him, he goes after him. So everything's good there, but Brutus is so big. He's really good when he's got his hands on you. Their rolls, their moves. This is a great match. But when Brutus doesn't have his hands on you, it seems he's a little slow, awkward. It just doesn't seem his timing is right there. Now, this is a good match. Kemp shows himself up. They go back and forth, move for move. There are a lot of rolling on the ground moves, counteracting moves coming out of moves, like a rear naked choke or something to that effect. They're just move after move. Eventually, Kemp gets thrown outside the ropes where there is a chair. Now, this is where DK comes back and shows me a little Studio 5 channel Memphis Wrestling here in Memphis, Tennessee, where he brings the chair to the forefront and puts a whooping on Brutus, leaves him battered and torn. Does really good. After the refs come out, security, they break him up. Kemp does a really good, this is my house. I mean, he does pretty good. Then after that banger of a match, they got Sangha and Quincy Elliott. No, I just said Sangha and Quincy Elliott. Yeah, okay. Sanga's a little upset he lost, and Quincy gives him some words of advice. So a tale of two tapes there. Quincy switches roles with Sangha this time. But Zion comes out, and Quincy confronts him and says, hey, pretty much, I don't know what all the hype is about. Oh, in his Whitney Houston pink t-shirt, of course. Yeah, okay. That leads down, okay, that's going to lead down to our main event. All right, now you've got Gallus and Briggs and Jensen, and it's a pub rules match, okay? Pub rules. So there's garbage cans. You got to have garbage cans. You got to have, because they got lids. But you've got setups for the bar, a couple drinks around there, so let's see if all of this comes into play, because this is a good match. They go back and forth. This is a brutal match. It is what you would expect out of Gallus. And Briggs and Jensen, they're so freaking big, man. They're normal size for their size, if you know what that means. I know that sounds funny, but they're just big old boys, big old cornbread fed boys, and or men, I should say. But it's a good match, man. Everything comes into play into this match. You've got the glass gets broke over Gallus's head at one point in time. Let me see. There's the belts, and not the tag belts, but actually Jensen and Briggs's own leather belts get brought into play. So you have everything of like a Texas Tornado death match maybe in the past or something like that, but these guys tear it up, man. And it goes back and forth. At one point in time, it really does look like Gallus has got it, that they are going to win this match, but then it gets turned around on us. So it goes back and forth. The glass gets broke over. I believe it's Wolfgang's head. One of the Coffee brothers ends up in a trash can at the end of the match, and he's walking around with a trash can. Wait a minute. Let me. I'm going a little too fast here. Let me slow it down. The match is good. The belts get brought in by Gallus originally. They put a whooping to the good old boys there, and eventually the good old boys get the belts back, and that's when the match turns. There's a table in the ring, so of course that's got to be used. So everything comes into play. There's glass broke over, I believe it's Wolfgang's head, which allows one of the Coffee brothers to be by himself, which eventually the other Coffee brother comes charging in, and he goes through the table, if I remember right. And then you've got one of the Coffee brothers standing there with a trash can over his head. Okay, you know how many times that happens in a good old street fight. You turn around, everyone you're fighting, and then there's a guy with a trash can over his head, which leads to a leg sweep and a big lariat by the good old boys. And the trash can comes off, the pin goes on, and the match is over. So the good old boys win it, but there is more drama afterwards. The cops end up having to take Gallus out. It's one thing after the other. It leads into organized chaos, and this is all good for NXT. It is a good ending. It leads to more. Everything is working out in the NXT world for us today. All right, well, that is pretty much how the show went down. Frazier, they did the little promo with him in the soccer. That's okay. You got Zion Quinn still looking good, man. Damian Kemp, man. Damian Kemp, I wasn't high on him at first, but, man, he is really coming on. Of course, they're real comfortable with those guys working together right now, but I could see DK doing good in other feuds in the future. Oh, Miss Lyons, with the crowd reaction, man, what do you say? They've got to make them champs. They got to. Chase U on the mic. Come on. The show is almost worth watching just for his promo. It's pretty good. And then Grimes and Gacy, they put on a great show. Waller, of course. Let me see. Am I leaving any? Yeah, the start of the match, or the start of the show, was good. JD and Dragunov were great. Braun coming in did not slow it down because of the 33 1/3 pipe bomb. Toxic was toxic. So Apollo, of course, is becoming a poet that didn't know it, and Tony D is hurt. And Mello and Trick are still in the thick of things, and Pretty Deadly likes to eat eggs and feed it to each other. All right, so that is a synopsis of the show. I don't know what to say. I hope the editing worked out okay with Big Papa Pump. It doesn't sound too bad. We're going to go quickly. Let me see here. I've got a question from Wendy. Not Wendy Chu, but Wendy, and what is this? Frungheyer from Hamburg, Germany. I appreciate it. And she pretty much asked, what is the longest match I've ever seen myself? And I actually saw a lights out match in the Mid-South Coliseum, a non-sanctioned, after the lights go out, an original, not like they do them nowadays. They cut the lights off, the referee got out, and they fought. And the matches before it were actually fairly normal, so you had about an hour and a half or 2 hours of wrestling, and then these two guys, if I remember right, it was Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee versus Phil Hickerson and Dennis Condrey, which would end up leading into somewhat of the Midnight Express later on. Not those two guys, but the way they worked, and Jim Cornette saw how they did, and that's kind of what he modeled the Midnight Express after. But that was a long match. I believe they fought for about an hour and a half. A lot of running around in the stands, a lot of blood, a lot of all that good stuff, but it was a great match. All right, and then let me see, we had one more that I was going to, because they asked that they are, yes, we have a gentleman that is getting ready to be deployed, Mr. Anthony Miller. Anthony Miller is getting ready to be deployed overseas, where he will not be able to catch any of the live shows on TV as much. So he's going to lean on the podcast. And we appreciate that, man. We really, really do. And you can get this podcast anywhere you find a podcast out there. Spotify, Patreon, anywhere you get Apple, anywhere you get these shows, you can find us, any of us, on the WWE Network. But Mr. Miller, he actually wants to know if he's heard me talk about, did my mother actually ever get to go to any of these matches? Yes, the last match she got to go to was the pay-per-view with Bret Hart. This is showing age. It was a Valentine's Day pay-per-view in Memphis, and she got to go, and she got to meet some of the wrestlers, and a couple of the guys come over and gave me a little cane. We had great seats, and my mom kept thinking that I was going to get beat up. She kept telling me that they're going to beat you up if you keep talking, because I was right towards the front, and I knew a couple of the guys, so they came out, and one of the times I think they knocked my popcorn over or something. I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was one of the Hart Foundation. I think it was. It knocked my popcorn over. But anyway, that's another story for another day. All right, guys, I guess we're going to end this up. I think I've got everything knocked out here. Surfer Girl makes her appearance. Yeah. I think we got everything, guys. So we're going to end this now. We're going to do a little short one this week because it was my birthday week, and we're recovering from that, and we're not recovering. We're going to continue it on this week. We're going out with family now, so we're going to end this like we always do. If you can, if you can rescue, please do. Spay and neuter. And as always, this is Memphis Mark, and I am out.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.